Thank you for waiting. So now we would like to begin U20 Tokyo Mayor Summit. At first, as on behalf of Buenos Aires, the city of the chair of U20 last year, Mr. Stolafes, Secretary General and Foreign Affairs of the city of Buenos Aires, will give an address. Mr. Stolafes, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the straw-face. My grandfather will say something different, but I'm very proud of being here personally first. As I was saying before, I came to Tokyo 19 years ago. That was my last visit. And I spent 3 months here in Tokyo thanks to the support of JICA. So being back to this beautiful city, it's a personal honor. It's also an honor to be here representing Mayor of Buenos Aires, Horacio Rodríguez Larreta, for the second Urban 20 Summit. I want to thank and congratulate Governor of Tokyo, Governor Koike, Emilia Saiz from UCLG, and David Miller from C40 for the organization of this impressive and high-level event. And of course, in addition to that, to Mr. Yamamoto, the Sherpa of Tokyo, that at the very beginning of the process, 2 years ago, he committed himself and the city of Tokyo to organize the second edition of the Urban 20. And that was a key element of the success even of the first edition. Here we are at the second edition of the Urban 20 Summit, chaired by such an important city as Tokyo. And I'm proud to say that this initiative started as a dream in Buenos Aires during Argentina's presidency of the G20. It started to grow and became stronger with the collaboration of our co-chair and friend, Mayor Hidalgo from Paris. In Buenos Aires, we are proud to have contributed with the creation of the new platform for cities to get together and speak with a unified voice. U20 has a challenge and the goal of building consensus among major cities to build a bridge of dialogue with the leaders of the G20. This effort wouldn't have been possible without the constant support of our conveners, as I was mentioning before, UCLG and C40, and also from our knowledge partners, the World Bank, the IFC, the IDB at that time, the French bilateral cooperations, and others to come. This initiative is the expression of an unstoppable process. Cities are getting more and more relevant as actors in the global stage. Large cities not only have deep pools of talents and critical mass of specialists, they also have the density to forge connection between people and firms with diverse bases of knowledge. We are hubs of opportunity. Enterprise creation and employment creation by new firms are more than 60% higher in cities. And for people living in metropolitan areas, income levels are 21% higher than those that live elsewhere. And according to the United Nations, around 3 million people are moving to cities every week. So that means that since the last Urban 20 Summit in Buenos Aires, almost 72 million people have moved already to cities. All of this coincides with a period during which many countries are implementing policy decentralization processes that are resulting in increasing and wider responsibility for subnational governments. It's not only a change in the formal prerogatives of the cities, but a growth in the real responsibilities and capacities of them. In this context, we, the cities, are being called upon to take a more active role in the global agenda. Most of the challenges faced by cities at local levels are global in nature and call for multilateral solutions. That is why it's so important that we keep strengthening Urban 20 year by year. We need to create the conditions for next U20s to happen despite the present conditions in any given time. We have to step up our work in between Urban 20 summits to transform our proposals and suggestions into concrete cooperation projects that improve the lives of our citizens. Our conveners are essential in this matter because they have the knowledge and the capacity to help us accomplish this. City leaders, most of you, are people of action. We always have to keep in mind that these platforms are useless if we don't connect commitments with actions. We must also broaden our support base by incorporating new partners that can bring new ideas and expertise to the table, and we are already working on that. Urban 20 is an evolving and flexible initiative, and it should remain so. It is not an institution, but it is nevertheless organized around a set of guiding principles that allow it to gain reputation. It is important to build a track record around these standards without denying the possibility of adaptation when needed to achieve our goals. We need to keep our momentum to ensure that Urban 20 turns into a permanent initiative that is carried on every year, despite the conditions given beyond the leadership of Buenos Aires in 2018 and Tokyo this year. The fact of being able to present our recommendations in a personal meeting with the G20 chair must be part of our goal, as happening in Buenos Aires last year, and it will happen in Tokyo this year, tomorrow actually. So to end, I want to thank Tokyo again for its amazing hospitality. You can always count on Buenos Aires to continue strengthening the voice of cities and finding joint solutions to our common challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Strafes. So next, as on behalf of C40, of the convener of U20, Mr. Miller, Director of International Diplomacy of C40, will give an address. Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you very much, Governor. Thank you so much for hosting us in your wonderful city of Tokyo this week, and for Tokyo's continued leadership on a variety of issues, particularly of concern to the C40 on your climate change initiatives. I also want to acknowledge and thank the team from Tokyo Metropolitan Government, led by the Deputy Governor, who has done such excellent work in hosting us and organizing the U20 in Tokyo. C40 Climate Leadership Group was founded in 2005 by then Mayor Ken Livingstone of London, England, on the philosophy that the world's nations were not acting quickly enough to address the challenge of climate change. And through the actions, the combined actions and individual actions of the mayors of the world's leading cities, we could ensure that the world would avoid dangerous climate change. Sadly, today this message is still relevant and resonates, as it is the actions by the mayors and governors of these cities that on the issues of climate change, inequality, and urban finance, issues of innovation, and issues of aging still matters, where effective action is taking place daily. Sometimes I'm asked, why do mayors of the world's largest cities care so much about climate change? As we heard from the governor, it's because in those cities, the impact of climate change is felt already. It's not a theoretical construction, it's happening today. About 85% of C40's 94 members have reported extreme weather events with the consequence of billions and billions of dollars in damages, and significant consequences to the least well-off living in those cities and globally, which is likely why C40 cities, by the end of next year, all 94 member cities of the C40 will have pledged ambitious climate plans to ideally peak emissions by 2020 and become carbon neutral by 2050. This is realistic action to address the threats that these cities see. And the U20, of course, is not just about climate. The challenges that the U20 seek to present to the G20, challenges including the impact of policies on the urban poor, finance, and this year in Tokyo, innovation and aging, are important strategies that, with the assistance of national government, the world's leading cities can move much faster. The U20 is unique because it gives a specific group of cities a platform to address a specific group of nations. On the issue of climate change, U20 is championing some of the most progressive and ambitious language submitted to the G20. And we can take credit, I think, for the actions in Buenos Aires last year for the strength of the G20's leaders' declaration on climate change, which might well not have happened had these mayors not spoken up. This year is no exception. The communiqué will take climate ambition further, acknowledging the latest science on 1.5 degrees of warming, identifying key actions in the buildings, transport, and energy efficiency sectors, and specifically speaking to the importance of ameliorating the impact of the changing climate on those least able to cope. These ambitions and this ability to speak directly to the G20 nations must be preserved. Cities have unique contributions to make and the opportunity to keep important issues on the agenda so that they can be addressed. There is no more important mission for the U20, and the C40 is honored to be a co-convener of this summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. And next, as on behalf of UCLG, United Cities and Local Governments of the convener of U20, Ms. Saiz, Secretary General, will give an address. Ms. Saiz, please.
Thank you very much, Governor Kyoke. Thank you very much for welcoming us in this incredible city. And thank you, colleagues, for joining us this morning. I agree with everything that has been said, and it's a very difficult role to talk after so many colleagues that have already put forward some of the key ideas. I think what is gathering us here this morning is the fact that we all know that there is no single model of development. There is no one way to do things right. But there is a very similar single model of being happy. When people look for happiness, they look for safety, they look for a public space where their children can play, they look for education, they look for health, they look for a decent place to live. And all of those things are in your hands. They are in the hands of the mayors of the world. So it is impossible, it is unthinkable to have the countries of the world meeting in U20 without taking into account your visions. That's why we are here, because we need to bring that message, because decisions need to be taken at the closest level of decision to the people that are going to be affected by those decisions. And subsidiarity, that's the concept, goes both ways. It's not about who does it best, but who should be doing it, because it has the capacities, the will, and also knows the needs of the communities best. I think this is what the communiqué of this year is doing. That's the message that we started to bring in Buenos Aires and that we are bringing in Tokyo again. We are not only asking for cities to be listened. We are also saying cities are listening now. We are ready to work with you. It's not about doing things better than you. We don't have all the solutions, but we certainly need to develop a structural dialogue that allows us to look for the solution. I was reminded when David was talking about the origin of C40 that the very first organization of local and regional governments of cities was founded in 1913. United Cities and Local Governments is the inheritor of that organization. It's over 100 years. Already then, David, we knew that member states were not going to do it well. In fact, they were not called member states because the United Nations didn't even exist. We have known it all along, that cities need to be at the forefront. And this is what it is about. That's why we are here. So I agree very much with us having to work more in between summits. and making sure that our networks take on board these policy recommendations and we transform it in real actions. But I am also very keen to ensure that that structural dialogue with the G20 permeates in other international institutions that we already have a very strong relationship with. Of course, the United Nations, but many of our partners here. It is an impressive group of partners that we have in this room. And I think we need to make sure that we use it well. I also want to recognize other sister organizations that are here and that are sitting somewhere around the back, but are very much at the forefront of the action. Metropolis, ICLEI. There are many networks of cities that are doing great work and that are helping us getting cities right. Because getting cities right is about sustainability, but getting cities right is also about getting the world right. The message that we are bringing to Urban 20 is not a message only of big cities. It's a message for big and small. And this is what the networks like UCLG are doing in this context. It's for everybody. If you get cities right, then you get the world right. Then rural areas are also going to be developed, and the urban-rural continuum would be guaranteed. If you get cities right, then you get equality right. You will get women having more chances, and you will have poorer and disadvantaged populations getting things right. We are convinced of that. So let us take it to the next level. United Cities and Local Governments is ready here to walk this walk with you, to try to bring our communiques, to take that extra mile, to take that extra commitment, and even if we are not ready now, we will be, because you know what? We cannot afford not to be. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you for continuing down this path with us, Urban 20 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sides. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Strawface, Mr. Miller, and Ms. Sides. Thank you very much.